News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn to try the issues in the above entitled cause and to the following unanimous verdict. To the charge of deliberate homicide, we, the jury, all of our number, find the defendant, Markus Kaarma, guilty.
That was the scene inside the district court yesterday. Markus Kaarma was found guilty of the deliberate homicide of German exchange student Diren Dede in Missoula District Court yesterday. Following the verdict, KGVO News spoke with Andreas Thiel, a German attorney representing the Dede family. He said the Dedes were relieved and grateful after the verdict.
They've been waiting so long for the day that there comes out a sentence of guilty. That was the way why they wanted to come here, and this is now a great feeling that we got this verdict they were all hoping and praying for.
Thiel said the verdict confirmed that it was just one man and not the Montana or even the American culture that was responsible for the death of Diren Dede.
Now we know it was not an area which acted like that. It was just one crazy man, as they say in Germany, who did this. So I think big relief.
There'll be a hearing this morning at 10 so the Dede family can share their feelings regarding Kaarma's possible sentencing with Judge Ed McLean. In a related story, just less than an hour after his client heard the clerk of district court read that verdict of deliberate homicide, a determined Paul Ryan said he's been planning all along to appeal a guilty verdict should one occur.
There was plans prior to the trial because we think some of the decisions that were made, including keeping it in this community, which is obviously very emotionally charged. There's been a tremendous amount of media attention, many of it negative, and so we think there's a number of appealable issues that the Supreme Court will have to address.
Ryan says naturally Kaarma, his mother, and his partner Janelle Flake are deeply disappointed by the verdict and that Kaarma's mother will continue to fight for her son.
Marcus's mother will remain in this community, and she wants to be a big part of the continuing efforts to have her son receive the justice that she thinks is appropriate, and that he would be vindicated for this. And so she will continue to provide support for not only Markus but the family so that may occur.
Following the verdict, Kaarma was led away by Missoula County Sheriff's deputies to the Missoula County Jail, where he is being held now without bail. Deliberate homicide carries a penalty of not less than 10 years and up to life in the Montana State Prison. Lawyers for a convicted murderer want a judge to block Wyoming prosecutors from holding a new hearing on whether to reinstate the death penalty against their client. U.S. District Judge Alan Johnson of Cheyenne last month overturned the death penalty against 69-year-old Dale Wayne Eaton. He was convicted in 2004 of the 1988 murder of 18-year-old Lisa Marie Kimmel of Billings. Johnson ruled Eaton did not receive a fair trial because jurors didn't hear personal details about him that might have persuaded them to spare his life. Johnson says prosecutors could ask another jury to consider the death penalty for Eaton or he would serve life. Eaton's lawyers yesterday asked Johnson to sentence Eaton to life, saying witnesses who could have testified about his background at trial are now unavailable. A flight out of the Ronan Airport on Tuesday afternoon turned deadly when the plane crashed about 4:30 p.m. Lake County Sheriff's Department Public Information Officer Karen Sargent has the names of those involved in the crash.
We can release the IDs of both the deceased pilot and the injured passenger of the plane. The deceased pilot's name was Brett Soft. He was approximately 33 years of age. And then Tim Schaus was the passenger who was alert helicopter flown to KRMC. He is still listed as in critical condition. The National Transportation Safety Board arrived on the scene yesterday to inspect why the plane crashed. The plane left the Ronan Airport to go on a sightseeing tour of that area. I-90 traffic came to a standstill for an hour yesterday morning after a truck bearing material from the Department of Defense caught fire. Frenchtown Rural Fire District firefighter Mel Holtz was on the scene.
We got dispatched to a semi-trailer on fire just about a mile before the Petty Creek exit heading westbound. Driver reported seeing flames, was able to pull over, disconnect his truck, and then take off down the road. We ended up shutting down the interstate in a mile in both directions because we learned that there was explosive material and hazardous material on board.
The truck's wheel well had caught fire, likely due to a faulty brake. The fire never spread to the hazardous materials in the truck's trailer, but the road was closed for precautions anyway. Holtz could not reveal what materials were in the truck. That information is kept by the Department of Defense. The state of Oregon is allowing Wyoming and Montana to participate in an appeal over a proposed coal terminal on the Columbia River. Administrators with the Oregon Department of State Lands this summer rejected a proposal to allow construction of the proposed Coyote Island terminal at the Port of Morrow. Oregon ruled building the terminal would threaten its water resources. The terminal would allow coal mined in Wyoming and Montana to be loaded from trains into barges for shipment down the Columbia River for eventual export to Asian markets. The Oregon Department of State Lands is hearing an appeal of its rejection of the coal terminal. The agency on Monday ruled that it would allow Wyoming and Montana to participate in the appeal as limited parties. Environmental groups are opposing that project. Millions of dollars from the sale of Community Medical Center will go to fund a new charitable entity called the Community Hospital Legacy Foundation. Vice Chairman Scott Hacker said that following the sale of the hospital, the foundation will continue its mission in a different way.
What we are trying to do is fulfill the mission of Community Medical Center going forward as closely as possible. Obviously we're not going to be running a hospital anymore, but it is our obligation to use the proceeds from the sale to continue its mission as closely as possible.
Hacker revealed the numbers expected to fund that new foundation.
What we envision is probably for the endowment that it'll settle out somewhere between $60 and $65 million. Really depends on some of the closing adjustments in the sale. And then separate from that, there'll be an initial gift to the University of Montana for $10 million.
The Community Medical Center Board chose to sell the hospital back in March and also chose to partner with Billings Clinic, Montana's largest hospital and a member of the Mayo Clinic Care Network and Regional Care Hospital Partners. And finally, the Montana Department of Corrections says a 74-year-old inmate has died after an extended illness. The agency says Eugene Corley died Tuesday at the Montana State Prison. Corley was sentenced out of Lewis and Clark County for driving under the influence. He was scheduled to be released in March. Our News Talk time now is 6:10.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly cloudy to cloudy skies today with a slight chance of a snow shower. High temperatures will warm into the mid-30s. Mostly cloudy tonight with our lows in the upper 20s. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13, your first alert station.